What is up, online nutrition coach community? It's a beautiful day here in sunny Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Got my tongue tied up already. I just turned this mic on, so let me know if it's working, because on the last Build Workshop coaching call, I talked for about 2 minutes and everyone's like, dude, we can't hear you. So I'd hate for that to happen again. But anyways, today we've got a really exciting training for you. I know a lot of you are interested in how to have a conversation with your prospects when you run up against the money objection. And the thing is, for me, I love sales, but I think about sales through the lens of it being the highest order of coaching. I want to put on my ethical lens, my coaching lens, when I am in a sales role. And I want to teach that to you, because when it comes down to it, like selling business to business, that can be cutthroat. You know, it's all about, closing the deal, getting the biggest margins you possibly can. The ethics don't necessarily have to be there, because it's like a business doing something to a business. Whereas in coaching, we all got into the fitness industry because we care about people. We want to help people. For many of you, you were on your own fitness journey. You saw success with it, and you want to help other people hit those highs that you've hit. And so it's really important that for you, you have a way to actually sell ethically. Now, I need to pull up the live stream because for some reason my BeLive isn't pulling in the comments. However, we'll keep things rolling in a second. But anyways, where was I? The ethical sales. So the thing is, I see a lot of people talking about like ethical selling, but I don't really see the ethics in it. And today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how I see ethical selling so that you can put that frame on when you're on your own sales conversations. I want to help you double the rate at which you are closing people into your programs. Because if you are a good coach, if you do care about the experience that your clients have, and if you are willing to do whatever it takes to get your clients results, I want to help you find more clients. I want to help you be better at enrolling clients, because I know that sales is a major challenge for a lot of coaches. And some of it comes down to the tactics. A lot of it comes down to mindset. So we'll be addressing a little bit of both today. Let me know if that's cool for you while I bring up the live stream on my phone so that I can see your comments coming through. All right, so again, let me know. I'm pulling up the comments now. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm about to pull up my little presentation I made for you in a second. And then if anybody on here would like to actually role play through a money objection live up here with me, let me know. I'll send you a link. I can pull you up here like I have with other people for coaching sessions, and we can role play through that. This is a chance for you to get live coaching. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll send you that link via Messenger. Ooh, there we go. Awesome. Now I got it up. Sounds great. Thank you, Michelle. What is up, Sherry? Kathleen, thank you for letting me know. And I see Kayla, you're on here as well, taking a break from work. Awesome. So we will dive into this presentation. I'm just going to give I'm not going to bore you. It's going to be really quick, but we just need to get some housekeeping out of the way before we dive into how to handle the money objection, how to have that resourcefulness conversation with your prospects. All right, so let's dive in here. Let me pull up my screen share. And let's get this, other way around. There we go. So here we go, diving in for ethical sales and the money objection. So first things first, I'm not going to spend much time on this slide, but when we're talking about ethical sales, we have to actually consider ethics, ethical philosophies, ethical principles. I went to school for business, for marketing, and that is why I love being a business coach for nutrition coaches, because I was a nutrition coach. My passion as a kid was business, finance, all that. And the thing is, when you go to business school, you got to take business ethics classes. Otherwise, they're just going to create an army full of people who know how to sell, market, all for the wrong reasons. So they want you to understand a little bit of ethics. You might not see it that way if you think corporations are evil, but there are a lot of ethical people in the business world. I like to think myself included. And I want to teach you how to be ethical as well. So we've got a few different theories of ethics. These aren't all of the theories, but these are the ones that I think are good guiding principles for sales. So we've got the categorical imperative, which is pretty much the golden rule, and kind of ties into attention. So golden rule, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. And for me, in my mindset, I have a growth mindset. So for me, I want people to point out my weaknesses because I see that as an opportunity to grow. I want people to point out my blind spots because I see that as an opportunity to grow. I love when my wife points out the things that I'm doing that are keeping me stuck or stagnated in my life, because when I cut that out, it gives me the opportunity to grow. And for us as coaches, we are shepherds towards our clients' growth. And so for me as a growth-minded individual, if I see somebody on a sales call, in a coaching relationship, who's doing things that are keeping them stuck, I know I would want, if I were in their shoes, someone to point that out to me. So I will point that out to them. That's one of the things that we have to think about. If you have a growth mindset, if you would like somebody to point out your weaknesses so that you can grow from them, well, then you sure should be doing that on sales calls. If you are uncomfortable doing that, well, then, you're probably attracting that into your life. You're not going to have people pointing out your opportunities for growth. And is that really what you want? No. So you have to step into, you're being unethical if you don't show people their opportunities to grow or what their negative patterns are. So the next thing is intention. I really liked this when we did our ethics class, that it's not always the outcome of your actions that determines the ethics of them. It's the intention. So if you do something with the best intention possible, but then it backfires or a negative consequence happens, well, as long as you held the right intention to begin with, then you're still acting morally, ethically. So if we think about it, if you start a client relationship with every intention to increase their confidence, to help them change their body image as well as their self-image, if we have all of these positive intentions at the outset, and for some reason, by the end of the coaching experience, they didn't reach the exact outcome that they wanted, or, things don't go according to plan. Well, if your intention throughout the whole process has always been to serve them to the best of your ability, you've still acted ethically or morally. And so at the outset of every client relationship is a sales conversation. So we need to have the right intentions, which I'll get into in a little bit more depth later on. What's up, Lexi? What's up, Christy? Warren? Awesome. Bibian, awesome. Let me know if this is landing. Utilitarianism. This one's huge for us as nutrition coaches. Luke, you're on here. You're helping conscientious parents be the best versions of themselves so that they can show that, to project that to their kids. And that way their kids are picking up those habits as well. So you're a great example of when you're on a sales conversation, Luke, like the greatest good for the most people is parents enrolling in your coaching, because you then are not only helping them, they are then paying you well for your services. So then you and your family are being served. And then by helping them, there's a ripple of impact. You're able to then be changing their lives so that they're a good role model for their kids. And then that's a generational thing. Their kids can be good role models for their kids. We're thinking like 7 generations deep. In terms of utilitarianism, for all of you as nutrition coaches, the ripple of impact that you can have with your coaching is not just the immediate exchange of you helping them and them paying you and that immediate energy exchange. You're putting a lot more into the system. If we think 7 generations deep, if you help someone break a negative story that their family has held for generations, then you're going to help all those future generations. A really tangible example of that. I had this one client, and he had this idea. When we did his intake, I was asking him about some of the mindset or the stories that were keeping him in the pattern of overeating, having shame about his body, and all these things. And he told me, we'll just say that his last name was Smith. He was like, well, I've always had this story that, my parents and my grandparents told me that the Smiths are just fat. The Smiths are just portly. He had all these stories where if you have that last name, if you have that surname Smith, then you are fat, you are overweight, you are going to die from a heart attack, because that's what all of the males in his family lineage had done. And he was able to break that story. And so for him, every generation that comes from him of Smiths is not going to be a victim of that story because he decided that, he was going to make a change. What's up, JJ? Now, the last one here is autonomy. You need to allow people to make their own decisions, and this is critically important in a sales situation because you are not in a sales call telling people why they need to sign up with you. You are not forcing people into a decision, but ultimately you need to take in the right amount of information and reflect that back to them so that they can make their own decision, whether or not they are ready to break the cycle, this perpetual cycle that's been keeping them stuck. All right. So you're not, when you come up against a money objection, telling them you need to spend this money with me because otherwise your future generations are going to suffer. You need to ask the right questions so that they come to those conclusions on their own, and they are entering into the client-coach relationship from a place of wanting to do it. Really important. And that's why I want to get into the prerequisites for actually addressing money objections. Is that cool with you? I'd love to just get a quick little check-in. Does anybody else have any different ethics that they think about when selling? Did that make sense? What are the takeaways? And from there, I'll dive into the prerequisites for the money objection, but I need to hydrate. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. Hopping on. And by the way, I don't know if you saw it, but if anybody wants to jump on and role play a money objection at the end of this, on the back of this, let me know because I can bring you up. We can role play through that. It's a really good opportunity. We do this pretty regularly in the Build Workshop, every week actually on our sales workshops. Luke, I know you've gotten a lot out of role playing. We can bring you up if no one else in the community feels comfortable with it. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your results there, Luke. Now, ultimately, the prerequisites for handling or addressing the money objection, first, that you can help them. If somebody comes to you and they've got problems that you have no idea how to solve, if you're not a dietitian and someone comes to you because they've got diabetes and they need help with actually managing the symptoms of their disease, you're not licensed to do that if you're a precision nutrition coach. So you shouldn't help them. You shouldn't even make the offer. But if you can help them, then you have to think, will you do whatever it takes to get them results? That is the core of the VIP experience that I teach, is that you will do anything to get your clients results. You will go above and beyond, even if it falls outside of what was outlined in the program that they signed up for. All right? So will you do whatever it takes to get them results? If you will do whatever it takes to get your clients results, shoot a little love heart, show that you love them. Now, the next thing is that you see the close. You see them joining your program as an opportunity to change their life. That's the thing that I was talking about with intention. You see the potential to change their life. You're not thinking about the revenue. And this one's really important because I'll give you the example of me. I have revenue goals for my company. I set them out. I want to hit them. Like, I've set up a cost structure within my business where it's actually necessary to hit my revenue goals. So I am tied to my business making revenue. But here's the difference between that goal and being detached from the revenue on a sales situation. On any individual sales call, I don't need to close that person because it's either them or somebody who's a better fit. I am more worried about helping the person on the other side of the phone to move through their crappy stories, to move into a position where they're ready to grow. I'm more interested in helping them and the relationship than I am the revenue on any discrete call. On the aggregate, over the course of all the sales calls that I and my team do, I want a certain amount of people to be joining the program, but on any individual call, I am detached from that revenue. And that's really important because if you are coming into the call attached to the revenue, and I know when you're starting out as a coach and you don't have many clients and it feels like if I can just get one more client, I can go part-time at my job, you can get attached to the revenue. That brings the wrong energy in. Your intention is no longer primarily driven by helping them. So now you're in an unethical position. So if you're attached to the revenue and a money objection comes up, you're now dealing with it from a place of low morality. You're dealing with it from a place of thinking about what they can do for you, which is give you money. You're no longer primarily thinking about it from the point of how you can help. So that's why going into every call and making sure that you get yourself primed so that you are more worried about the relationship and helping that person than the revenue is so important. That's why I spent so much time on explaining that to you. Does that make sense? Is that something that I'd love to know for all of you who are taking sales calls? Do you do anything before sales calls to get yourself into the right mindset so that you have the right intention and so that you're detached from the revenue? If not, this is something that we teach in the Build Workshop, and I'm happy to share that resource or share some resources with y'all because I'm sure Luke can attest it's critically important. What's up, Molly? Good to see you on here as well. Now, the last prerequisite for managing the money objection is that the magnitude of their goals and their pain is worth the investment. So obviously, I mentor nutrition coaches. Let's say that somebody's goal is just a side hustle. They just want to make $500 to $1,000 per month, and that's it. Well, to have mentorship with us is more expensive than that per month. So that person's, the magnitude of their goals and their pain isn't going to be worth the investment. Maybe over the course of, a few more months, they're going to return their investment, but it's just something that they're kind of interested that they want to do on the side. Well, one, I can help them, but I'm not that excited about helping someone stay small and play small and just have a little, fun money side hustle. I'm excited about helping people quit their jobs, go part-time at their jobs, really help people and have that be their primary purpose. So it's I might not actually do whatever it takes to help that person, and the magnitude of their goals and pain isn't necessarily worth the investment. I won't make an offer in that situation to somebody if I want a sales call. So you need to think about this in the example or in the case that somebody says, you go through all the discovery process and the biggest pain that you got out of them is, I eat pizza once a month and I'd really just like to eat a little bit healthier. I'm already eating pretty healthy, but I'd like to eat a little bit healthier. And that's the extent of their goal. Well, if your program is $3,000, does the investment in your program really match the magnitude of the pain? And if not, if you do make an offer for some reason and they're it's not worth $3,000, you don't really want to go into the money objection because you got to go back and figure out, is there actually pain that is worth that $3,000 investment? If someone's I just want to put on a little bit of muscle to see if I can do it. I've heard this one before. You'll probably see this. Or, I'm happy with where I'm at, but maybe I'd feel better if I lost 10 pounds. You're not really going to justify, and they're not going to be able to justify a $3,000 program investment, which is really important. So if all the prerequisites are there, it is ethical for you to go into the money objection. I just saw Josh hop on camera. Josh is on a trip in Colorado with his wife right now, or maybe you just got back, but they're scouting out the location for their dream house where they want to move to. Josh did have a little bit of a money objection initially. It was a mixture of uncertainty. There was a bit of a money objection. If I didn't ethically push through that, Josh, you're on here. Do you think if I didn't ethically push through your money objection and enroll you into the Build Workshop, that you would have a timeline to be going part-time and quitting your job? Do you think that you would be in the position that you're in now to be able to even put on your calendar that you're going to move to Colorado? Or do you think you would be pretty much in the same pattern you were in? Same goes for Jane, for example. If I didn't ethically push through Jane's initial, that's a little bit expensive objection, and didn't show her why she would be stuck in her pattern to reflect that to her, then she would be back at her consulting job, which she likes enough, but it's not her passion. Now, Jane gets to work 2 full days per week. The rest of the week, she's doing some marketing on a flexible schedule instead of, grinding it out as a consultant. And, she's making a damn good living doing it. Paul, one of my clients in my Grow Intensive, he's gone through the Build Workshop, had amazing success. He went from 0 leads whatsoever. He didn't have belief in himself when we first started talking, but then he thought, you know what? Let's give this a go. Let's see if Matt can help me. He went from 0 leads to having 60 sales calls in a 60-day period. And that's because I ethically push through the money objection. And if all of these things are in place for you, you need to ethically push through the money objection. All right. Ooh, man, I forgot that I put this slide in here. The other massively important thing is that their higher self wants to do your program. That was the thing with all of those people that I just mentioned, Josh, Jane, Paul. Their higher self wanted to do the program. They wanted the result of being in the Build workshop. All right. So for you, their higher self, your potential client's higher self needs to want to join your program so that they can step into the confidence that they can have, so that they can step into that consistency and that self-image that their higher self has for themselves. So is that making sense so far? Give me a little bit of takeaways and then we can move on. And Josh, if you're on here, do you think that you would have gotten to where you're at right now had I not ethically pushed through your initial money objections? I'd love to know in the comments. All right. So while you are all giving me your takeaways, feel free to type those in. And we're getting close to the end of the presentation here, so if anybody wants to role play, let me know. Hey, Jen and Micah, good to see you. If anyone wants to role play, let me know in the comments. I'll send you a link and I can pull you up. Now, here's what closing really is in an ethical selling model. I did not like the word closing because here's the thing. Imagine if we were on a sales call and you decided that you wanted to commit to being in the Build workshop. You signed up, you made that commitment to yourself to putting your business first, to making it a priority, because you know that by doing that, you're going to be able to provide better for your family. You know that by doing that, you're going to have more freedom to be with your family, to travel. You're going to ultimately be on your upward spiral. So you made that commitment and you're excited. And we finished the Zoom call and I forget to turn it off. And I turn to my wife and I say, Camille, I just closed, who just joined? I just closed Asher. I just closed it. Like, how does that feel to you, Asher, if you heard that from me? Like, I just closed you. To me, doesn't feel amazing. If I heard that, it wouldn't feel amazing. But if instead I turned to my wife and I was like, Camille, I just got Asher to commit to closing a chapter in his life that was holding him back. That's what closing really is. You are closing the door on old patterns. You are closing the door on that prospect's old story and that shitty image that they hold of themselves. So if you don't close, and I had to make this mindset shift, thank you to Shauna, who really helped me with this. Shauna's amazing. I'm sure a lot of you already know that. But if you don't close, you keep the door open to their self-destructive patterns. If you don't close the door on their old patterns, you keep the door open to their self-destructive patterns, and they're going to go nowhere, which is really unfortunate. So here's what we got to do. What's behind the money objection? Really, it's going to be primarily two things. One is belief. It's going to either be belief in themselves. They don't have the confidence that they can do it. So they're like, I've tried to diet before. I've tried a 90-day program before. I've done a nutrition challenge before, and I always end up right back where I was. And so I don't want to spend $3,000 to get some progress and end up right back where I was. All right? So a lot of times the money objection is just, I don't believe in myself enough to invest that money because I'm probably just going to fall back into my old patterns. They lack that belief. And so that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind and uncover. Really, when we need to seek to understand. So when the money objection comes up, you need to be curious. You need to seek to understand what's behind it. And I'll teach you some questions you can ask to uncover which of these, whether it's belief, money, or something else. So if it's belief in themselves, well, we need to show them where they have actually succeeded in the past. All right. Because if they don't believe in themselves, they're fixated on their failures. Now, here's the other thing that they need to believe in order to move forward, in order to close the chapter on their old patterns. This is the other thing behind the money objection, is maybe they don't believe in your ability to help them. So maybe you haven't built up enough trust before the call. Maybe you didn't understand or seek to understand in the beginning of the call before you made your offer. Maybe your offer sounded like every other offer that they've heard. And they're like, oh, it's not that different. Why would I spend $3,000 to work with Matt when I can go work with Renaissance Periodization for $200 a month, or Working Against Gravity for $165 a month? They've got a big reputation. Maybe I should just go with them. They're cheaper. And, they've helped other people. So if they don't have the belief in your ability to help, this is also something that you need to make sure that you're addressing with a money objection. But then, sometimes it really is money. But if it is money, you have to understand, what about money? And this is where a lot of people get uncomfortable. Is talking about money with people. People get awkward. You need to get really comfortable with this. Luke, how much more comfortable are you with talking about money now? Who else is on here that is in the Build Workshop? Anyone in the Build Workshop, how much more comfortable are you talking about money now? Because you got to get comfortable with it. And if you're not comfortable with it now, step outside of your comfort zone and grow into being comfortable with it. Because if they're coming up with a money objection and it really is about money, does that mean they don't have enough cash flow? Does that mean that they're living paycheck to paycheck at the moment and there's not enough excess budget to fit your coaching in there? Does it mean that they don't have enough in savings to pay for your coaching in full upfront? Does it mean that they don't have enough of a credit limit? Or is it just a scary number? Is it just a big number that they're not used to seeing or that they weren't expecting? And then the other one is going to be that they just straight up don't have the money. They're in a ton of debt already. They lost their job, whatever. Those people, obvious money objection, can't really help them at that point. All right, so you need to be able to ask if they say, for example, oh, sorry, Matt, $3,000 for 6 months, 3 months, that's a lot of money, Matt. I can't afford that. And you'd be like, yeah, you know what, Luke, it is a lot of money, definitely. When you say that you can't afford it, what do you mean exactly? Does it mean it's not in your budget? You don't have enough cash flow, savings? What do you mean by you can't afford it? And then from there, you got to start digging down. You got to start asking for specifics. Like, well, how much do you have in savings, Luke? Like, how long would it take you to save up based off your current budget to fit this? And then once you understand that, you can move forward. If it is just a scary number, then you have to ask them what the cost of staying stuck is, which is really important. That's another conversation entirely. Or it might be something else. It might be that the money objection is actually that they're not the breadwinner in their family and they can't make a decision to invest $3,000 without consulting their spouse. It goes to a spouse objection. Maybe they feel like selfish because they're a parent and they feel selfish if they take $3,000 of the family's money to change their nutrition and to improve their life. They feel selfish. And so it becomes this family objection. And then you can reflect to them, well, what are the bad habits that your family has picked up because of the way that you eat? Now, if you improve the way you eat, do you think that would improve the way that your family eats? Improve the habits that your kids have? And that's the way that you can start to actually, address some of those objections. But if you didn't seek to understand what's behind the money objection, because there's always something behind the money objection, belief, maybe something in terms of their money and their budget, spouse, family, whatever it happens to be, you got to seek to understand it. And then from there, you can start to have the resourcefulness conversation. So I really would love to role play a money objection. Is anybody on here going to be courageous and volunteer? Anybody? Shoot it in the comments because I'll talk a little bit about the resourcefulness conversation. while I'm waiting. But without a role play, I just don't think this is going to be as effective of a training. Blake just jumped on. Blake, if you want to role play, Luke, this is a really good opportunity, y'all. Good opportunity for you. Anyways, the resourcefulness conversation, it really comes down to three things. If it really is just money, if it's belief, I teach ways to manage this. This is outside of the scope of today, but it's really important to understand. Cool, Luke, I'll shoot you a link in a second. Spouse, outside of what we're talking about today. Family, outside of what we're talking about today. We're talking pure money objection. If somebody, it really is not enough cash flow, not enough savings, not enough credit, you got to have the resourcefulness conversation. And the resourcefulness conversation can only happen if we go back to this. Their higher self wants to do your program. So the way that you figure out if their higher self wants to do your program is after the offer, after you make your offer. This is gold. If you're just kind of passively listening, listen up, take notes. There's two questions that you should ask after you make your offer. One is, do you feel like anything's missing? Because if you are providing a one-on-one personalized VIP coaching experience, if they feel like something's missing and you can deliver it, you can add it in to your offer. That's one. Number two is that you need to do what I call a temperature check. You need to make sure that they and their higher self want to do the program and that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get the results. So you might ask them, based off of everything you've heard from the program, if they come up with a money objection, if you're like, if money wasn't an issue, based off everything you heard in the program, scale from 1 to 10, 10 being, this is exactly what I need, Matt. I'd sign up today if I had the money. And 1 being, Matt, this program is awful. Never talk to me again. You're such an idiot. Where does this program fall on your needs? And if they tell you 8, 9, 10, then that means that it's a priority and you need to have this conversation with them. All right? Cool. So we got Luke and Ashley. I'll get you both up for a role play if we got time. I'll send you both a link in a second. So the way that we have the resourcefulness conversation, once we have those prerequisites in place, is we need to talk about these 3 areas which will allow them to make the investment into working with you. So we've got 3 different areas. One is decrease expenses. The other is increase their income. And then the other is borrow. And you've got to be comfortable with all 3. Because here's the thing. I know a lot of people are awkward about credit and suggesting credit and debt and things like that. Get over it. Because the thing is, what is the cost? What is the interest that they have to pay on staying stuck, on lacking confidence, on being inconsistent, on having a shitty self-image? What's the interest that generations have to pay to come for their parents having poor eating habits and passing them on? So if you don't ask them to borrow a little bit of money today, you are asking them to borrow from future generations. Simple as that. Get over it. Like, I borrowed money to start this business. I returned the investment. I borrowed money to work with a weightlifting coach. I found a way to increase my income and decrease my expenses over time in order to pay off that credit card. But for me, it was really important for me in the moment to get that coaching. And even though I didn't have the cash in the moment, I figured out how to do it. I got resourceful. And then because I was willing to get resourceful, I got the most out of it. So that's one thing I got to point out. Get over asking clients to borrow some money from a family member, whether it's a credit card, whether there's other third-party funding options. Get over it. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, one of the reasons that I say get over asking people to borrow is because here's the thing. Increasing income, that takes energy. It's not something that necessarily immediately happens. They can have a garage sale. They could sell a motorcycle. They could sell their lawnmower. They could sell a piece of art or an antique in their house. They could sell a bunch of things and quickly have an influx of cash to then make the initial investment into working with you. That's probably the quickest way, but it takes some energy. It's not getting them started today. The other thing is they could pick up some shifts at work. They could work a little bit more. That's going to add another layer of complication to them getting results, but at least it gets them the support that they need. So you can ask them to increase income, but it's a little bit slower than just borrowing. It takes 2-3 days to get approved for a credit card, or some people already have a credit limit. You could ask them to decrease their expenses, but as humans, we're pain-avoiding creatures. Once we have something, we don't like to let go of it. So I was talking to Jane, and here's a really good example. Jane had somebody who didn't think that they could afford her coaching, which is like $550 per month, but they would pay $400 or $500 to get their hair done. So here's the thing. If Jane just shows that person, listen, you're paying $400 or $500 to get your hair done, which doesn't last. Your hair grows out. It's like you've got that like new growth and you got to get it recolored so that you don't have roots that are different than your hair. It's like that's something that you're on this constant hamster wheel, like $400 or $500 for. But here's the thing. Working with me for 6 months, I'm going to teach you how to have more confidence. The thing is, as humans, when we're confident, when I have good posture versus slumped posture, I'm more attractive. It doesn't matter what my hair is doing. I can have crazy Einstein hair that makes me look homeless, but if I'm walking around carrying myself confidently, I'm attractive and I feel good inside. Whereas like my hair, I might look in the mirror and feel good inside for like a minute, but then I don't see myself most of the day. And when I get my hair cut, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 people say, oh, did you get your hair done? And it feels good for 1 or 2 days, but then it fades. So, ultimately it comes down to, would you be willing to not get your hair colored for 2 months to afford this? Like, how can they decrease their expenses so that, the gap between income and expenses widens to accommodate your coaching? And you've got to be able to have that conversation with them and to go deep onto all of these on the call. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. If they're like, I need this program, Matt, but I can't afford it, you're like, okay, are you open to looking at some ways that we can make it happen? Look at all the different ways they can think about decreasing their expenses. Don't leave a stone unturned. Look about all the ways that they could increase their income. Don't leave a stone unturned. Look at all of their options for borrowing. They can borrow from loved ones, friends, family, people who believe in them. All right? They can borrow from that. They can borrow from their retirement account. Because here's the thing. If somebody's, let's say, morbidly obese, maybe they don't live to see 59 and a half when they can draw from their retirement account. So, of course, it makes sense to draw from their retirement account because you only in the US get a 10% penalty on taking it out early before 59 and a half. So it's essentially like a non-compounding 10% interest charge versus, credit cards might be a higher interest. So borrowing from a retirement account, why not? Like I borrowed from my Roth IRA because you can draw off the principal and have no, you don't pay interest on that. There's no penalty. So I pulled out of my Roth IRA to do some coaching in the past. They can borrow from their future selves so that they can put a deposit in now that will grow so that by the time that they would have got that money anyway, it's already returned itself. They can borrow. Credit cards are an option. Home equity line of credit is an option. There's so many different ways that people can borrow. PayPal credit, 6 months, no APR, no early repayment penalty. You can just borrow the money, and if you pay back the entire balance within 6 months, there's no penalty. And then after 6 months, the interest kicks in, and that's when it's roughly a credit card anyway. There's 0 interest for 12-month credit cards. Now, who listening to this right now is feeling a little cringy in their body about asking a client to borrow? Be honest, raise your hand. Tell me, is this something that's feeling a little bit cringy for you, the idea that you might have to ask a client to borrow money to work with you? Because there's going to be 2 things, and it comes back to this. Oops, where'd it go? Belief. You might not feel comfortable to address the money objection because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in them and their ability to get results, or you don't believe in your ability to help. So go back to last week's training on self-confidence and step your self-confidence up. But who is feeling cringy about the idea of borrowing, or do you feel comfortable? Everybody who's watching, let me know right now, because that's a really important thing to address. Because borrowing is quick, it's easy, it can get them started, it can get them momentum now, whereas decreasing expenses and increasing income might take a little bit longer. So that's it for the presentation. I'm going to shoot Luke over an opportunity to role play. And then I'll send over one to you as well, Ashley. So 1 second here while I'm doing that. Why is there crickets? Why do we got silence in the comments? You don't learn unless you participate. Blake's feeling comfy. That's good. Ashley's in between. Makes sense. Luke, I'm shooting this to you on Messenger right now. Shooting you the link. So just follow that link. You'll join me on Be Live. So Luke says 3 months ago, I would have never brought this up, would have never brought up borrowing. Who else is over here? We got 19 people on this live. Ain't nobody telling me whether or not they'd feel confident or lack confidence in asking people to borrow money to work with them. Ashley Dorsey, I just added you as a friend. I'm sending you a link that will allow you to join me. I'm going to pull Luke up first. Luke, I need to get my headphones on so I can hear you. Hey, Delphine, good to see you. Oops. There we go. All right, I got Luke. I'm going to pull Luke up, and then Luke and I can do a little bit of a role play. Luke, can you say something so I can see if I can hear you? I'm not sure if your audio is not connected or if my headphones. Okay, my headphones are on. Headphones, play test. All right, I think your microphone might not be connected. So while you're pulling that up, Nicole, thank you for your response. Mentally, I feel confident, but when the situation presents itself and it's real, maybe a different story altogether. Yep. Jen Chadwick would struggle to ask a potential client to borrow money. Jen, you and Micah got resourceful in order to join the Build Workshop. So here's the thing. It's like you're willing to do it. So, think about that. Linda, I feel like I need to write down options and have a script ready so I can talk confidently about borrowing, credit, etc. Okay, we got Ashley. Maybe this is my headphones not being able to hear, but I'm not able to hear either of you. Maybe if I pull one of you up on screen. So Luke, I'm pulling you up on screen. All right, let's see if I. No, I'm not able to hear you. So I'll take you off for the moment. It might be me, to be honest. It might be my headphones. Let me just check on this. That's weird. Oh, Luke joined from another place. All right, while we are figuring that out, what I'm going to do for all y'all is I'm going to show you part of my I'm back. So I'm going to show you all part of my pre-sales call ritual that no worries, Luke. And you can steal this. You can steal parts of this. So let me pull up my screen share. And in the meantime, we'll get everybody hooked up. All right. So I'm back on the screen share. And Ashley, I'm hoping I can get you up. I'd love to be able to role play. But here's my pre-sales call ritual. So I've got testimonials, builds up my belief. I got a whole folder full, got some videos that really help me. I got some affirmations that I do. Feel free to steal some of these. All right, you can read them. I'm a sales expert. I lead in conversations, use my power for good. I feel empowered and comfortable. I attract the right clients at the right time. I feel secure and trusting. This one really helps me, like I said before, decrease my need to get revenue. My clients live their ideal lives because of my programs. I feel proud and warm. All these things. Really important, get some affirmations in there. The mental framework. In order to prescribe a solution, I must go through a discovery process, accurately diagnose prospect situation. In order to accurately diagnose, here's the thing. I must be detached from the revenue generated by closing them. I need relationship over revenue. If I can help, it's my duty to get them out of their comfort zone. And if I can't help them, it's my duty to let them know and refer them out. Millions of people need help. This one doesn't have to fit. I get myself to detach. Feel free to steal that. Let me know if that helps. The other thing that really helps me is the consequences of comfort. So if I want to stay in my comfort zone and allow people to stay in their comfort zone with the money objection and get off the call. Well, here's what happens. If I let a prospect stay in their comfort zone because I want to stay in mine, if I'm not comfortable with letting them sit in their pain so they're motivated to take action, and I don't use their dreams as ammo to enroll them, they will be stuck in their full-time job. They will continue to live an existence where they're unfulfilled. And every time they see another coach having success, they have FOMO. They'll be less than the best partners to their loved ones. They bring unfulfilled energy home that brings down people around them. They end up in bad relationships because they're always bringing money energy to them. Their own physical and mental health suffer, even though their dream is to support clients and stepping up their own physical and mental health. They die mediocre at best. This is like the dramatized version of me staying in my comfort zone and not ethically addressing and pushing forward on the money objection and having this resourcefulness conversation. So here's the thing. For you, change this up. What we talked about before, if you let a perfect prospect stay in their comfort zone because you want to stay in theirs, for generations to come, their family has bad eating habits, dies early from heart attacks. Dramatize it. Make it as dramatic as possible so that when you get on that call, you feel it in your bones why it's so important for you to actually ethically push forward. And then when you do show up confident and willing to get outside of your comfort zone, have those hard conversations, people will enroll and invest. They'll be on their own upward spiral. You really want to dramatize the positive story of what happens when someone enrolls. So I'm going to jump back to Be Live here. I don't know why. Luke, try saying something because I'm seeing your mic levels. Let's see. How about yeah, I don't know why. I think it might be just something with Be Live today. Gets a little bit freaky. So let me try on Facebook. Let's see if Facebook will allow me to just pull you onto the stream. Who knows? I just tried on my phone. See if this works. And I'm going to reset this because who knows if it's me. Thanks everybody for bearing with us as we figure out these technical difficulties. I just want to say, Maria, I love the comment that you made that you would ask them what would be more uncomfortable, asking to borrow money or staying in their present state in their pain. That's great. All right. Ashley, I'm going to pull you up and see if people can hear you and maybe if I can hear you. I can. Okay. Ashley, we can do a role play.
Yay. Awesome.
Good to meet you. There we go.
Hey.
Beautiful. Cool. So you want to dive in? Have you had a money objection before on sales calls?
Yes, I have.
Perfect. So how about you feel into just getting into the soul of that person who had the money objection and you just step into their character and we can role play it out. I'll just be having the enrollment conversation with you. Okay. We'll start with me telling you what the investment is to work with me, and then you can just come at me with money objections and we'll role play through that. Cool?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. So here we go. Jumping into the role play. So Ashley, for everything that I just explained with the program, the investment's just $3,000 for 6 months.
Ooh, $3,000 up front? Or can I make a payment arrangement or anything?
Yeah, so usually clients will pay up front.
I need to talk to my husband first to see what our finances are looking like.
Cool. Well, if money wasn't an issue, then where does this program fall for you on a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being, Matt, this program is a joke. You're an idiot. Never talk to me again. And 10 is this program's exactly what I need, and it's going to get me the results that I want.
I'm about a 10.
Okay.
A 10.
Awesome. Well, if it's okay with you, do you want to brainstorm some ideas about how we can actually figure out the finances so that when you go talk to your husband, you can bring some options?
I mean, I'm always pretty busy. I mean, I love to shop on the Amazon and everything, and I'm not sure. Okay, sure, we can give it a try.
Cool. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, I'd love to know, what do you think you're going to see when you take a look at your finances with your husband? What do you expect to see there?
Well, we kind of go paycheck to paycheck, so I'm not really sure. I think we might have a little bit of extra money from time to time, but I mean, he likes to do his tools. He likes to do a lot of his crafts and stuff. So I'm
Yeah,
not sure how this will fit in for myself.
awesome. Yeah, it's cool that he's got some hobbies there. Do you have the opportunity to spend money on yourself and your own hobbies, or does most of your extra money go to his tools and his hobbies?
Well, his tools, his hobbies, plus our kids getting ready to go back to school.
Yeah,
It's going to be a lot of things coming up this month that I don't know if I'll be able to, have the extra funds.
got it. So, do you know how much you have roughly in terms of savings?
Um, I probably got about, I mean, by myself, maybe about 1,000 for a rainy day, especially like with COVID and stuff going on.
Got it. Yeah, so I mean that makes a decent dent in it. And then from there, do you have any like access to credit, like home equity line of credit, anything like that that's lower interest rate?
I've been working on my credit and everything. I've heard that if you have to get too many inquiries, it'll lower your credit. So I mean, I've been working on it, but I don't really know if I get approved for credit or not.
Got it. So then the other thing is, and you said that you're living paycheck to paycheck right now. So, if you walked away from this call, how long would it actually take you to save up to be able to do the program?
Oh, $3,000 up front. It would probably take about 4 months to probably get something really to work with on a
Yeah.
payment type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does it feel for you to have to continue where you're at for 4 months?
I mean, I can see a lot of depression coming in. I like to eat a lot, and I'm noticing
Mm,
that the more stressed I am, the more I like to, eat for the comfort. So if it continues that way, I think I'd probably spend more money on eating than even trying to save. So to think 4 months from now, I would definitely be in a worse situation.
yeah. Yeah. And I'd hate to see that. So usually in these situations, there's a few different areas that we can take a look at. So you've got 1,000 in savings. It would take you about 4 months to save up the rest of the 3,000. So ultimately, we could probably figure out how to get started today and give you some buffer to be able to save that up. So do you think if you put the 1,000 down today, that you'd be able to service any additional payments after that over the 6 months?
I definitely could. I'd wonder what that would look like though. Like, what would the payment breakdown be after I do like $1,000 deposit?
Yeah, so we can definitely take a look at that. Something I think is going to be important is to make sure that you've got a solid financial plan, because I wouldn't want to put any additional stress on you with the finances, because that's something we're going to work on in the program is your mindset and your stress. So do you want to take a look at, there's kind of 3 areas that we can look at to give you a bit of a buffer so that we don't bring that financial stress in. That cool with you?
Yes.
Yeah. So usually we've got 3 things. We can either decrease your expenses, so we can figure out where you might be spending money that you might be able to cut back on. We can increase your income in certain ways. So figure out maybe something that you can sell that's been sitting in the garage that you're not using. Maybe pick up another shift or 2 at work. Or we can look at different options for borrowing. So for you, can you think about any ways that you could decrease your current expenses? Is there anything that you're spending money on right now that isn't as important to you as making this change in your health so that you can be a better role model for your family?
Yeah, man, I got sucked into a timeshare situation on my last
Mm,
vacation, and it
yeah,
is just unnecessary funds right now, especially without traveling and everything. So
yeah,
I want to get out of it. I just don't know how.
yeah. Yeah, so that's one definite option. I don't know how to get out of a timeshare, but it sounds like that might take a little bit of time and effort. So can you think about anything else that isn't as important to you as making this change for your family and the generations to come, but, is just sitting there on your expenses every month?
Well, yeah, I mean, and even in the sense when I just brought up the timeshare, I mean, even though I'm not traveling, there may be some people that are, so I might can try to sell some of those points or something to them to
Awesome.
take those trips. That just popped into my head. So,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that'll put a really big dent in it and give you a big buffer. Is there anything that you can think about that you'd be able to sell? Anything that's just sitting in your garage or anything that you have that you don't really use, but it's got some value to it?
I mean, I'm sure I got a lot of lawn tools and stuff, maybe with the seasons changing and everything. I haven't been cutting my yard as much. So I could probably sell some of those different equipments.
Awesome. Cool. So it sounds like we've got a few different ways that we can create that buffer. And, you mentioned before that you're not sure if you'd be able to get approved for any credit. But there's definitely some options. If you wanted to create a little credit buffer, PayPal credit is an option. So PayPal credit works where for 6 months, you don't pay any interest. They just essentially give you the loan. And then from there, you can pay it back in the 6 months and then you don't pay anything. You pretty much just got free money for 6 months. And so that could give you a buffer as well.
I don't have a PayPal account. How does that work?
Oh, that's fine. You can apply. It's easier to get funded if you do have a PayPal account, but yeah, it's something that you can apply for. I'd say for you, what we can do is if you want to get started today, we could get started today for that 1,000. And then from there, that gives you some time to sell some of those lawn tools, to get out of the timeshare, to maybe sell some of those points. Right. And also just, save a little bit of money over those 4 months so that it's, you've easily funded the coaching experience. Is that something that you'd be open to?
Yeah, I would actually. I really would. Definitely having that flexible pay would be a lot more manageable because I can definitely tell it's something that could be different from what I'm already doing. So I'd be definitely open to that.
Awesome. So then what we can do is we can start today for 1,000. And then from there, we can just go to payments of 500 until you've paid off the balance. I won't tack anything else on top of the 3,000. You can just pay the balance.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a winner then. Because a lot of times, trying to do programs, it's like, well, we can boost it a little bit. And that's been one of my fears. So I definitely think that would be a workable, realistic plan.
Awesome. Cool. So then if you want to get started, we can just grab payment details for that initial 1,000 payment. And then from there, I'll get you set up with everything that you need. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Definitely. I'm definitely ready.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to working with you, Ashley.
Thank you. You too, Matt.
Yeah, virtual high five. Let's do this. Awesome. Cool. So break the role play. How was that for you? What were your takeaways? How did that feel sitting in that position?
You almost had me looking for. I'm like, is he gonna really do $1,000 right now? Like, it went from playing to getting really comfortable because I have had a couple of objectives and stuff. And I'm like, either you want to do it or you don't. But you really made me feel comfortable by sealing the deal of saying that, with that lump sum that you knew I had $1,000, but not adding any extra on top of it to get to that goal is really what won me over. Because a lot of people aren't doing that now. You end up going from 3,000 to now you're at 4,000 real quick because of whatever they wanted to add on. So that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks so much for jumping in and doing the role play. Very courageous. And I'm glad I got to meet you. This is one of my favorite parts of being in this community.
I've been running from you. I really have. So I'm looking forward to August being a little jump in. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me. It's definitely time. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ashley. Chat soon.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye. Mm-hmm. All right. So how was that for everybody watching that? I just want to give big ups to Ashley for being courageous there, coming on up. Give me your takeaways, everybody. And hey, I know we had some tech issues, and there's still 11 people on here, so thanks y'all for staying around. anyways, I'd love to get and see some of your takeaways pouring in. Give a little bit of love. Send a little love heart to Ashley for having that courage and coming up. Thank you, Jennifer. Great role play. Couldn't have done it without Ashley. Now, if it's cool with y'all, I just want to jump to 2-minute commercial break. Is that cool with everybody? Awesome. So since it's cool with you to jump to a quick commercial break, if you want to jump into the Build Workshop, we have some massive changes on the horizon that you are going to benefit from. And if you are a coach in the United States, we just secured an even better way for you to be able to join the Build Workshop and have it be very accessible. This is one of the best ways that I've found that we can help coaches get resourceful. So if you've been on the fence about jumping in, exploring mentorship, you can set up a no pressure call with Shauna or myself. We will take the time to actually make sure that we develop the relationship with you, to make sure that we figure out what's in your best interest. And if the Build Workshop is in the best interest, we'll probably invite you to join in as long as we see that you truly are the right fit. And I don't just say that. I don't know if Haley's on here, but I had a call with her over the weekend, a business audit, and it just wasn't the right time for her to jump in the Build Workshop. So I didn't invite her to come in. And that's the way that things roll. We are actually looking for the right people to join the program at the right time. So you can get onto one of those calls with Shauna and I. And from there, if you do need to get resourceful, we can help you work through those things, but we might also be able to offer you some different funding options that are freaking amazing. I wish that I had those options available when I was signing up for my business coaches. So if you would be interested in having that conversation with us and getting onto a business audit consult, which you can get on even if you don't have any clients yet, by the way, then just let us know below with a comment, resourceful. Shauna and I can reach out. We can set up a call with you, see if it even is the right time to get onto a business audit, and we can go over those options with you. But yeah, like I said, we've got some really freaking cool changes coming up in the next 2 weeks for the Build Workshop. If you're in the Build Workshop already, I'm really looking forward to rolling them out to you. Get excited. But yeah, that's what I got in terms of the commercial break. Let us know. Again, resourceful down below if you're interested in having a no pressure business audit consult with either Shauna or I. In the meantime, I'm going to drop a link to a clean version of my pre-sales call ritual in the comments for you. So you can turn that into something that works for you before sales calls. I'll also drop the slides in there. Does anybody have any questions? I went way, way, way over time today. I'm probably even late for a call right now. But if you have any questions, I might be able to get to them. Okay, I'm not late for the call yet. But if you have any questions, I might be able to get to them in the comments. Just drop them below. Anything about sales, anything about ethical selling, we got you. All right, everybody. Much love. Ashley, thank you again for coming up, doing that role play. Luke, thanks for trying. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around, even with some of those technical difficulties. I know this was a long training, but I hope you got heaps of value out of it. If you did, give it a bit of love. Let me know in the comments your biggest takeaways. Online nutrition coach community, you rock.